Nature is really, really incredible here because it has a way of cycling itself. Love the look of that log. I want to try to get some water lilies out in front of it, and then I also want some water lilies right over here. The wetlands are biologically very diverse. There's a lot of activity that's happening in there. This is a 4-season water feature, and that's the beauty of a recreational pond. Hey everybody, I just arrived just outside of Omaha, Nebraska. This is the site of this incredible recreation pond that we built last year. But what I'm here for today is I'm putting in some of the aquatic plants. Plus I wanted to check everything out because growing season is upon us. So check this out. It looks fantastic. Now last time I was here, we were just doing some cleanup work, some grading and that type of stuff. But look at that, all the grass is coming in. So all that turf, which makes a huge, huge difference. Plus we have flowering plants, we have perennials growing. They're in the process of designing more and more planting beds in and around everything. The deck is coming along as well. That entire giant platform, it's gonna be a big gazebo going over this, and then they have that seating deck coming off. But check out that water quality. Water quality is fantastic. Water is clean, and what I love is, look at this, tadpoles. So there are some giant toads, he said, laid eggs in here. And you got all these tadpoles, but if you can look at those guys, they are feeding on algal growth. They are feeding on bacteria. They're feeding on that periphyton that covers and grows over everything. But what's kind of unique about this is these guys are getting all their nutrition from everything growing inside the pond. So all that algae, all that stuff. But what's going to happen as they continue to grow, they're going to transform and they're going to go from an aquatic species to a terrestrial. So these are toads. So they're actually going to leave the ecosystem. And what's important about that is they're taking all the nutrients from here. So they're stealing all the nutrients from the pond. They're then going to take it and leave the system, thereby removing those nutrients completely from the ecosystem. Nature is really, really fantastic. I mean, how it works. So I could hear one of the toads making some noise right now. But nature is really, really incredible here because it has a way of cycling itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on this aquatic plant bed over here. I'm going to focus up there in that wetland filter. I also have some beautiful water lilies to kind of spread out through some of these areas to create some shaded spots. They just told me that they added in some koi to the pond, which I could see them all the way down on the bottom. They're not coming up to the surface, but they're brand new. So they're brand new into this ecosystem. And you know what kind of happens when you put an animal into an environment like this? It's overwhelming, number one. They're probably coming out of a small tank, and there's no other cover in here. So they're coming out and they are completely exposed to all the elements. So what we're going to do by putting in those aquatic plants and things like that, it's actually going to help them because it's going to create shade. It's going to create a little bit of shelter, which mimics that naturalistic environment. And I love coming back to projects, checking them out, because you just see that evolution over time. So it's just going to continue to grow and produce life. But all of this, I'm going to plant up some of this stuff up in here, put in some creeping plants around the waterfalls. So I think we have a really good mix of stuff, which is going to make a huge difference on this ecosystem. Here are some of those plants. Said I got some creeping stuff to go around the perimeter. I love this variegated sweet flag. Got some butterfly weed. The corkscrew rush is really, really cool. I'm a huge fan of lobelia. The irises are a staple in the water feature industry. Pickerel is another one of my favorite plants. I got some cannas. So we have a really good mix of things that I know are going to do well. I love repeating some of that stuff just because it's going to continue to produce for us. Oh, here's one of those toads right here. Check this guy out. So I'm getting some of the plants in. You can see this little plant bed over here. Some of that deeper water right over in this section is getting the pickerel rush. But I can go a little bit deeper. I have some sedges kind of tucked underneath that log. It likes a little bit of shade, but I think it's also going to kind of brighten that up because it's a little bit dark back in there. And then in front of that, I have some irises. I love the look of the log, but we want to make it look more naturalistic. So I want to try to hide that little area where it ties into the rock and then kind of soften some of that other stuff up. I've tucked in some creeping plants, some more irises, lobelia, in some of those little pockets up on top. Again, the idea with this is to accentuate the stonework, not to completely hide it. And be coming in with water lilies right out in front of all of this. Love the look of that log. I want to try to get some water lilies out in front of it, and then I also want some water lilies right over here, and that's because we have the main viewing deck and we also have the proximity to the house and the fire pit and all of that. So I'm going to come in with some water lilies in here, but we also have a staircase, so I want to be conscious of that. So I'll probably keep them kind of tucked in, kind of tighter over in here, but just to kind of shade all this stuff out a little bit. Again, the idea is to really work with these shapes, and by coming in with the plants, it's really going to take it to that next level from a filtration standpoint as well as an aesthetic. Let's go take a look at the wetland filter up on top, and I'll discuss what we're doing up there. So this is where we have that cascading stream coming in from the wetland. Now this is an important component because the wetlands are biologically very diverse. There's a lot of activity that's happening in there. Remember what a wetland is. It's a water distribution system, and then it's home to different types of microorganisms. All those microorganisms are aerobic animals, so they require dissolved oxygen in the water. So they're going to consume dissolved oxygen. This is why we have a waterfall on the outfall. This is going to help to re-oxygenate the water. So you can see this is that natural action. It's exactly what happens in nature. We're just mimicking what's happening in our natural world. Right over here on this little wet pocket area, tucked in a few plants of lobelia, give it a little bit of height over in here. And then also I just love that corkscrew rush. Biological filter. So the plants I'm going to use here are not only going to be aesthetic, but they're also going to act as that filtration component. I love the look of this. We have all these boulders and things like that popping up in different areas. So what I want to try to do is take advantage of these little warmer areas that don't get as much circulation. I'm going to come in here with some of the irises and sedges, actually right in here. I think I'm going to probably do a pocket of that sweet flag right over here. That's going to really take off, and it's going to kind of brighten that little spot up. Back behind it and maybe in front of it, I might come in with some of those irises. I have some more pickerel rush that can go a little bit deeper. I would love to see that kind of in this deep area over here around that log. Then I have some of these canna lilies, which are really going to pop out. I want to try to focus those in some of those main viewing areas so they're visible from the home. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in and I'm going to take the plants out of the pots. I'm going to open up a little pocket of gravel inside of there, and then I'm just going to kind of nestle those plants right down inside of that gravel bed. I'll show you exactly what I'm going to do here.
$1,000. Click in the salutations, everybody. We've got Colonel Copepod, Lieutenant Roadfur here. We have some exciting news for you coming to you from the Team Aquascape channel.
I know you were probably really enjoying whatever the heck Ed was saying, but it can't be nearly as entertaining as this. We are giving away not $1,000, not $2,000, but $5,000 worth of Aquascape product. That's a whole Ed Baloo. Hey, you guys want to hear more about this? Follow Team Aquascape. We're going to be putting out more and more information about this, but in the meantime, click on the link below. Click. You know how to do all this.
$5,000 in pond product. That's all you need to know. Come over to Team Aquascape channel. Find out more. Let's go.
All right, so here is our variegated sweet flag. So a really cool plant. So what I'm going to do is it's going to take this out of the pot. Now you can see they come with a pretty big root ball. I'm going to take off a pretty good chunk of all of this soil, and that's because I want to force these plants to grow off of the dissolved nutrients that are in the water. You can see what I just did here. I've removed probably 60+% of all the soil. Now I'm going to find a little pocket here, dig it down into the gravel bed, insert the plant, press it into position. That is it. Now all I have to do is repeat that a few more times. Now this little area right in front of it, I'm going to come in with some other plants, similar color, different leaf structure obviously, but also different growth habits. These are going to fill this entire space in. These ones are going to kind of creep and crawl throughout this entire area to fill it in. Now these guys, I am not taking all the soil off of them. I can, but I want them to really take off this year. The other thing that's happening, because we have such a large wetland filter, we are removing a lot of the nutrients just through microbial degradation. So just with all those organisms living inside of there, they're consuming a lot of that stuff. A lot of times what'll happen when you do a brand new pond like this, you'll actually see the plants kind of starve themselves out a bit. So they'll actually get a little bit of anemic looking. And that's because there's just not enough nutrient in the water. So by leaving a little soil on there, it's good. Doesn't need to all be there. So again, it's a fine line. And that's something you're gonna kind of have to work with on your own to find that right mixture. Now this creeping Jenny literally can grow in anything. So it is really, really tough and hardy. But these are small pots that you see here. All right, let's move on to the other side. Yeah, you can see the intake bay is doing its job. You can kind of see a little bit of a scum on the surface right here, just from all that little debris from me doing the plants. It's just got all this little floating stuff, but it's doing its job. This is sparsely planted. Wanted to get some stuff over here just to kind of hide all that stuff with shallow water. A couple little accents over in that section. Again, just tucking some stuff in here and there. This is supposed to be kind of a rocky, craggy type of a look. Not a lot of vegetation. And then we have these plant pockets over in here. Different stuff up along the waterfall. Some of these accents in and around that beautiful log, which I love setting that thing. That was awesome. Just an awesome experience. And you could also see it's obviously being well used. love seeing kids getting in the water, splashing, having a good time. You know, this is what it's all about. Recreational pond. When it's warm, you're in the water. Otherwise, you're going to have this beautiful deck during the colder months. It's going to be a gazebo, seating area. They have the fire pit over on this side for kicking back when it's cool out. So this is a 4-season water feature, and that's the beauty of a recreational pond.